The sparse rocky slopes of the high desert country can be like an icebox in the winter and a furnace in the summer, so the small scrubby bushes that exist here need to be quite tough to survive. Of the 4 deserts in America's southwest, the region around Moab is part of what's called the Great Basin. The diversity in this desert of animal species is lower than its rivals, being dominated by monotypic clusters of small shrubs that are unappetising to most and offering up little protection, though the remarkable scenery compensates for any shortcomings. Identifying plants can be challenging, and many to us still remain a mystery, though a few can be guessed at, such as the fading blooms of the red-domed blanket flower and these varieties of mountain aster. Even in the fall we see the golden blooms of the snakeweed and scrappy-looking turpentine bush. Winter fat is an untidy little shrub, and we encounter the 4-winged saltbush amidst the rubble. This tough little shrub adorned with delicate white flowers is Martin's Ceanothus. There's the very spiny barrel cactus, and using the vegetation as cover from predators, one can find the timid tree lizard. This quest requires us drive a short distance north of Moab to the junction of the I-70. At this point is a very spaceshipy kind of a roadside stop where we can acquire some firewood and jerky for the road ahead.
Our objective is to find the ruins of an old ghost town set back in the rugged hills, a pioneer cemetery, as well as a rock art site from the region's original inhabitants. We've pulled into what we're hoping is going to be a magnificent camping spot. We've got Book Cliff to our south and more cliffs to the north. Out in the valley is the tiny outpost of Thompson Springs, where lengthy trains clatter on past.
Once again we're in pinyon and juniper habitat, with scrubby grasses, yucca and other mysterious little plants.
A little way back up the road we came across a small fetid stream where I found a good number of these Moab desert prawns dead along the edge. Now a quick sniff reveals that they're pretty good. They're only just on the turn, and the best way to cook an Effie prawn is to disguise it with a red hot curry. Starting out with the camp oven. I'm going to pop that into the coals. Give it some heat. I'm going to whack a good quantity of oil in there because you want it nice and oily. Perfect. Listen to that sizzle. That's too much. That's too much. That's a problem. We have a problem.
Thanks, you're making it my problem now.
Jesus. One of the skills of a good chef is that he can rectify his mistakes quickly. Cover them up. Now we can add a few of the spices just to boost it up a little. Copious quantities of pepper, a ton of salt, smattering of paprika, some chilies to hide the ming of the raw prawn. And And don't forget garlic. This keeps those stray women away. There we go, ton of that. Just whack it in there. And the ginger. It's just good for everything, good for your soul. A lot of ginger. Get it in there. Maybe a touch more oil just to get the arteries excited. So we've prepared a mixture of vegetables to go with this magnificent feast. So onions are an essential part of the meal. You can't go without them. Then we have some carrots. They add the crunch. The broccoli gives strength to the whole system. Mushrooms, they're just fun to have in every meal. And then we've got some, what are those peas?
Snow peas.
Snow peas. We've got snow peas because they add the sophistication. And red peppers. Red peppers just give it that the right texture. So the onions are going in now because they'll take a little while extra to cook. And then the bucket full of prawns. Ah, there we go. You can hear the sizzle. Now, if you've got grape juice, it does not go in the meal. Keep that in mind. So already the slightly offish smell of the prawns has disappeared under the impact of the spices, which is what you're after. Put the lid on for now, just let them soak in some of that heat. Gonna haul in the veggies.
A lot of food.
It is. It is. We've got to stay nourished. And you can feel the goodness just sweeping through the pot. Now we can prepare the. We got some coconut cream, and that gives it the creaminess as one would expect. We shall prepare rice. Seems to go very well with curries. And going along with the half a cup of rice, there we go, and full cup of water. Go straight on there. And now we can survey. Oh, that's a little reluctant to come out.
It's too cold.
Yeah, just gotta scoop it.
I can sympathize.
Oh, there we go. There we go. You ever seen a cow giving birth? That's how this coconut cream come out of the can.
That is a very weird analogy.
Oh, look at that. Once we've got the rice boiling, we've pushed all the hot coals over that way a little so that we just want it to simmer away for a while and absorb the moisture and soften up and get ready for eating. Well, there we go. There is the slightest amount of al dente in the rice, but it's as good as you're going to get, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's only going to burn from here.
Okay.
And then as we investigate this, whoa. Ah, delicioso. And that is how you cook an iffy prawn.
Probably clean. If it's clean, then it's probably been cleaned.
Bon appetit.
Thank you.
Alright, Might be time to make a prayer to the Lord, not so much for what he's given, but for how we're going to feel tomorrow morning. Where's my implement? Wilms.
Yeah?
I feel a bit queasy in the guts.
I'm not surprised.
Oh. Although we want jaffles. Are we having jaffles this morning?
We are having jaffles this morning.
I better get some wood on the fire then. It's a new day and not as rough as one would have expected. And we're continuing our journey along this spectacular canyon road.
Eventually, we turn into Sego Canyon and find what it is we're looking for.
Uh-oh. Watch your paws.
We've arrived at the ghost town of the settlement of Sago. It was named after the sago flower, the state flower of Utah. And before it was sago, it was known as Ballard. The area around here once produced quality anthracite coal, and that's why this place was prosperous. That's why this town exists. Unfortunately, when it had kind of its second renaissance and new buildings were going up, that's when diesel engines were introduced and the need for coal was greatly reduced. There's still a 2-story hotel that's mostly standing. The general store doesn't look so good, and there's a few cabins and other structures around. We'll go check them out. The structures have fallen into disrepair, damaged by flood and by time.
Yep, when a boulder goes through your house, that's probably the end of it.
These old rail bridges had to cross this occasionally turbulent creek 13 times along the 5-mile stretch from the mouth of the canyon.
The old cowboy's cottage here, and he's got himself a nice cellar there. That's probably one of the better places to be in the blazing heat of Utah, is underground. It has suffered a little structural damage. Little makeshift cemetery out here on a lonely knoll baking in the sun. Suppose we'll all be in the ground one day. Our next little quest, somewhere just down in the what's called the Thompson Canyon, is some ancient petroglyphs and also pictographs or paintings. You're looking for.
In this area, we've got both petroglyphs and pictographs from 3 different cultures. It includes the 2,000-year-old artwork from the barrier culture, the 1,000-year-old artwork from the Fremont people, and some artwork from the Ute Indians that date back to the 19th century.
For those petroglyphs to have been up so high, there's a good chance that big slab of rock there was once in place, since fallen down, giving the illusion that that the artists had the ability of levitation.
Prolific in these canyons are the vibrant yellow blooms of the rubber rabbit bush, and on them we find some formidable soldier beetles hard at work creating more soldier beetles. We also encounter the ferocious spiny desert barberry. There aren't a lot of larger trees here, but for the ones there are, the red-naped sapsucker can be found working the bark for insects to eat. In the next adventure, we're set to explore the Reds Canyon Loop and continue on with the theme of exploring historical mine sites and ghost towns set amongst the rugged landscape in the high desert of Utah.